Hey, this month I'm looking at the last few Season 2 episodes of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? That I've yet to touch on anywhere. And we just started with Mystery Mask Mix-Up. Supporters on Patreon voted for the release order of these and chose that to start us off, and at first I thought the other two might need a tiebreaker, stuck in the same position. But soon enough, today's subject soared ahead to take a secure second place. And it's no wonder why, as it's another one of the big icons and atmospheric classics of the series that I've yet to reach, making today's video an exciting adventure. This time we're looking at Season 2, Episode 6. A Tiki Scare is No Fair. Originally aired October 17th, 1970, with the iconic Witch Doctor and Mano Tiki as our villains. Being a Tiki-inspired villain, a Tiki derives from Polynesian culture, referring to large wood and stone carvings of humanoid figures, such as the one in our episode of Focus. And with the Witch Doctor surrounding him, this is our second villain of the original series to be a Witch Doctor. Decoy for a dog napper in Season 1 having one as well, though we'll be getting to that another day probably. They're still very different and worth getting into separately, rather than conflating like the werewolves. And being a Season 2 episode, this is the only one to not have a chase scene with some super out of place but fun song. That was something people or modern Scooby will often reference or parody like it was in every episode from day one, but was really only in 7 Season 2 episodes. As memorable as this one is, it continues to be referenced in later Scooby media. In the N64 version of the game Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers, the episode was adapted into the third level. In 2004's Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, you can see the Witch Doctor in the museum, and with test footage revealed to us thanks to JB and Millie, this further uncovered material to show us he was at some point meant to be a villain brought to life, but was cut like several others like the Headless Horseman or Ghost Clown. He would still appear in the video game and junior novel though. He also doesn't resemble this Witch Doctor so much as the decoy for a dog napper one, so they might have themselves conflated the two. In 2010's Curse of the Lake Monster film, the Witch Doctor makes a live-action cameo at the end, and in a Season 2 episode of Mystery Incorporated in 2012, Mano Tiki is referenced as a past villain as well, though it happened in Crystal Cove rather than Hawaii. And there are of course mini toys and figures, though I try to reserve those divas for the big favorites or most popular. Additionally, unlike the last episode we talked about, this one had some extra releases on home video, being included on 2013's 13 Spooky Tales, Run for Your Life, and 2019's 50 episode Best of DVD set. With all that, let's go ahead and look at this one and why it continues to stick with people. The episode opens up with a Hawaiian volcano, a rare early episode that has a definitive set location. We then change to this scenic area as we pan over, Shaggy and Scooby enjoying a local feast at this luau as one would expect. Eating with them, journalist John Sims takes a photo of the boys enjoying their meal. Shaggy thanks him for taking them on this tour, though he's not looking forward to seeing the ancient village of the Lost Tribe tomorrow. Apparently that's a side quest the rest of the gang planned without Mr. Sims, because of course they did. He warns them not to go though, saying that it's haunted. He's voiced by John Stevenson though, who historically voices over half the villains of the show, so maybe it's haunted by him. The boys begin to cry as he says even he wouldn't go to the village, so they decide to take that advice. Suddenly, things already start to go wrong as they hear what seems to be ghost drums. Clouds move in and everything becomes dark and red, Mr. Sims seeming to vanish. Suddenly, our villainous Witch Doctor appears, saying they're all on the forbidden ground of Mano Tiki. He warns them to leave or face his vengeance, then vanishes once more. The locals run off terrified, and Scooby runs over Shaggy in his own fear, his snack landing on his head, and when he removes it, Shaggy finds himself entirely alone. At the Pineapple Parlor, we find the van, where inside, Daphne and Fred dance together, and Velma sits sad and alone. Shaggy kicks the door down suddenly, sliding all the way to them and explaining what he saw, and that everyone vanished, so they all head back in the van to see.
It's a scientific fact. People in Scooby don't just vanish. Poof.
And yet, arriving at the scene, everyone does appear to be gone. That is, except for this old man. Velma suggests they ask him, but when she points, the others don't see anyone there, the man having vanished as well. Listening, Shaggy hears the drums beat again, and a ghost drum seems to bounce toward them, so they hide behind the van. It seems to disappear, yet sounds like it's moving closer, and it bounces around the other side of the van toward them.
Zoink!
People point this out as the first time the trio say zoink. However, to me it sounds like the regular old zoinks here. Either way, the kind of unusual thing we tend to see in this first series before everything was as molded into place as it is now. The drum bounces further until it finally flips, revealing Scooby-Doo underneath, no spirit.
Scooby-Doo, where were you? What? Is this any way to greet your buddies? Better.
Now they just have to find Mr. Sims, but Shaggy is ready to leave already, until Velma and Fred shame him and remind him of all the luau's he took them on and could continue. Looking around, Velma finds prints in the dirt that suggest a struggle happened there, Daphne pointing to where one of them was drug away. Assuming it was Mr. Sims, they decide to follow the tracks, where they find a newspaper with an article written by him about a spiritual legend terrorizing villagers, that of Mano Tiki. We then see a photo of the statue itself, Fred declaring this a mystery, and Daphne making finding Mr. Sims a priority. Velma assumes a good place to check is the ancient village, which is likely haunted, so Shaggy points out the tracks stop at the jungle anyway. Daphne says Scooby's nose can follow them, and Fred pulls out a Scooby snack, so Shaggy gets down on his knees to beg for it. Oh, so we're getting into puppy play. He literally takes the job from Scooby and starts sniffing around. And not to be outdone, Scooby gets on the case as well, until that old man appears again in a bush and scares them off. And somehow we jump to everyone on top of each other, most impressively Velma carrying all of them balanced on her shoulders as she runs. The old man seems pretty happy about it too, while the boys get caught on a tree branch and left behind, forced to run off together. The trio find they've ended up lost themselves now, needing a new plan.
But something will hit me.
Poetry in motion. Wondering where they've fallen, Shaggy looks up as they realize they've come face to face with none other than Mano Tiki himself. And finding him means we've reached the infamous haunted village, getting a good long panning shot of the ruin. This is always one of the best parts of this original series. So much artistic hand-painted beauty and atmospheric creepiness to this ghostly location. As the gang look around though, the statue moves to follow them with his now opening eyes. Rounding a corner, everyone quickly rushes back out, the witch doctor chasing them as they hide. They hear an ominous growling sound, and suddenly the wall rotates, losing the trio when the boys flip back around. Even worse, that sound is still outside with the boys. Inside, the others find themselves in another eerie place to be stuck. Look at this beautiful background art yet again. They try pushing the wall where they came in, but it won't flip back. Likewise on the other side as Shaggy bangs to be let in before the source of the noise gets them. The shadow starts to come out, approaching them defenseless. So Shaggy just picks Scoob up by the tail for a weapon. His opponent is revealed to be a mother boar with her children, so he opts to run, being chased until the boar runs them over, and then the babies run over them to rub it in. As the others look for a way out, Velma steps on this obvious trapdoor while Fred grabs a torch, which then triggers said trapdoor and drops Velma down. I'm sure Daphne is relieved it wasn't her this time. Daphne then sees another potential way out, while Velma takes in her new surroundings, finding Mr. Sims' hat that suggests he's been a victim. She hides so she won't meet the same fate, just as the witch doctor enters, but she starts having to fight off a sneeze. Conveniently, she sneezes up in his face, giving her the chance to run out with a head start, hide away, and lose him. Now chilling, Shaggy is casually relaxing on Mano Tikitia's feet, which is honestly very brave of him. The calm doesn't last though, someone shouting the Tiki's name at them suddenly. Unfortunately, it does appear to be the statue himself, bending down to reach for them and then actively chasing them down. They're saved only by Velma grabbing them as the large threat rolls by.
Like in another moment, that freaky Tiki would have made poi out of this boy.
They can't breathe before Scooby sees another fiend, the witch doctor right behind them. They run into one of the buildings and start to barricade the door, building it up pretty nice. And even the witch doctor helps them secure it tight. Scooby realizes what's wrong with that picture as the good doctor gets up in Shaggy's face. So Velma continues to be a good ally on the team and trips him with a chair so they can escape again. Fred and Daph continue to look for their friends, while that old man appears to follow them. The others, while still actively running, climb a tree, and then do their best Tarzan and Jane impressions. Scooby naturally being a chimp, and they simply tell the guy the teams he's looking for went that way, easily fooling him. Love how he just sort of disintegrates here. Their heads got a little too big over this though, their branch collapsing and dumping them down. At least it was after the witch doctor left. Fred and Daph meanwhile find a door and look in, seeing oyster shells and pearls on a table. The best clue so far, just needing to reunite everyone to pull this together. The others meanwhile are taking a well-deserved break from being chased.
Like I'm too whacked to walk.
Scooby then sees an abandoned airplane out here in the jungle, which Shaggy believes must have crashed years ago. Velma, however, finds all the overgrown vines to be fake plastic made to look like it's been here longer. Scarier, Shaggy removes some and uncovers a skeleton in the pilot seat, which laughs. Velma points out it's thankfully not real. He accidentally got his foot caught on a tripwire that triggered it, and attached to the skeleton is a tape recorder that provided the laugh.
Like I sure fell for that trick.
Naturally.
Naturally. cold. Shaggy tries to have the last laugh, but the dead man laughs again despite being disconnected, so they go ahead and get lost, but also thankfully found, running right into the other two. Ouch. Got the job done though. Combining their collective clues, they start to wrap up the mystery, only needing to find poor Mr. Sims now. Scooby sniffs out some fresh footprints, so they follow them over to this water where that old man jumps out again and screams. They all dive in to chase after him, finding a cave where they come up to a secret cavern with a staircase. As we see outside this building in the village, the gang find themselves coming up a trapdoor inside, meaning the cave acts as a secret entrance to get into the village unnoticed. But there's still no sign of that old man. They return to where that other trapdoor was, when the witch doctor appears to threaten them, and then kind of just growls? They all run off again as he chases, but they get trapped with Mano Tiki on the opposite side. They try to run another direction to hide in here, leading the Tiki to check inside each one, but cleverly they cling to the roof as they get tossed around, and run off again. The witch doctor stays on their trail, they get separated, and the Tiki nearly squashes the boys. The witch doctor then switches to ride around on the Tiki's feet, so the boys hop on a log to speed up as well, landing in a rotating wall. When the witch doctor flips it back, Scoob is innocently taking a bath, so he flips it again to find a dapper Shaggy performing. Very handsome. The witch doctor flips once more for Scooby delivering an appropriate dance for the locale, but we still flip again to a juggling Shaggy, which pisses our baddie off enough that he just pushes the button until it flings them out. He tries to intercept them, but thankfully is scared off when they come out looking even scarier, in turn scaring their friends until they trip. After seeing how rattled the witch doctor was, Fred plans to use that against him.
First, we've got to get that trick amusement park mirror from the mystery machine.
Now, don't mind me, but why do they have a trick amusement park mirror laying around in the van at all times? What amusement park did we take this from? What an oddly specific thing for them to have at their convenience at a time like this. Anyway, they hang it and camouflage it with foliage like the plane was, while the boys will play ghost drums to lure the spiritual doctor over. When they expose the mirror and he sees himself, he'll run and fall into this hole they dug and covered. Admittedly, one of Fred's less out there plans. We also get a good bit of Scooby messing around with the effects of the mirror before it's time to start. Old freaky Tiki creeps over hearing the drums, as planned, but grabs Scoob's shoulder and puts a wrench in the plan. The boys run off, enter a building where they come out with a mask on, see themselves in the mirror instead of the witch doctor, and run off where they land on the head of Mano Tiki. The statue seems pissed off by all this and grabs the witch doctor, speeding off until it finally falls, the captive spirit still in hand. Not how they planned it, but it works. As for who's under the mask, Mr. John Sims, apparently surprising Fred. As for Mano Tiki, he had wheels on the bottom of his feet that were kind of obvious. The whole thing is just a big robot, like a parade float as Velma puts it, operated by a henchman for Mr. Sims. Kind of screwed them over by his reaction and grabbing his boss at the end though. Sims had started the entire hoax, hoping to scare away villagers and poach all their pearls in the water like they found earlier. He would then come to the haunted village after with them since nobody would want to follow ghosts. Apparently his henchman was the first witch doctor they saw, explaining how Mr. Sims was there with them. But even so, he disappeared before the witch doctor appeared anyway, if you pay attention. That just leaves the weird old man, who shows up to answer their questions about him. Unmasking himself, he's actually Lieutenant Tomoro from the Hawaiian Police Department, having been on the trail but unable to pin this down until this. Not exactly an explanation of his weird laughing and all that, but maybe he's just a weird guy. As thanks, he offers to pay for the gang's final day of vacation, so we see everybody doing their far-out dancing at a final luau. Scooby has some fun surfing, but with one last trick up his sleeve. His surfboard has wheels that allow him to ride onto land and steal away Shaggy's boy and wheel off with his greed. And that's a Tiki scare is no fair. This episode is a surprising contrast to the episode we covered last time. That episode took the gang into a different culture with results that might have been a little cursed and insensitive after the last several decades. In contrast, this episode keeps things fairly respectful for the standards of the time, if you will. Everyone native to Hawaii in the episode sees respect without their culture mocked, and there really isn't a lot of them in the episode to begin with once the haunting scares most people away. The gang don't really do anything disrespectful to the land or people here, they're just enjoying it and having a nice time. And the villain can easily be debunked as too terrible, because at the end of the day, it's a white man under the mask trying to steal from the land and ocean. If anything, I would actually say this episode is less offensive and more generally appropriate than 2005's Aloha Scooby-Doo, which does have a fairly annoying and controversial ending that makes the mistake of the villains being someone indigenous to the area and framed as a villain when they really shouldn't be. And that, as a more modern movie, should have been pretty safe. Yet, this 1970 episode got it more right somehow. It's not perfect. I'm not gonna act like it's completely flawless in that regard. But when you look at similar episodes like we did last time, this is a pretty harmless episode by the earliest Scooby standards. And it also feels much more in line with the first season than the second. For starters, it doesn't have a silly chase song that's out of place. This one plays through like the earlier season 1 episodes. But what really fits in tighter is the amount of beautiful background art detailing the creepy abandoned village or the beautiful parts of the area, all of which adds to this feeling like the farthest the gang have gone so far, while being just as eerie as any haunted house they might have stumbled upon prior. The execution of things like the ghost drums really adds a nice spiritual effect that feels organic to where the characters are. And at the end of the day, the Mask of the Witch Doctor is a very effective and memorable design, clearly with how much it sticks around in the minds of people. It also adds a lot of tension that the villain turns out to be somebody the gang already knew rather than a stranger, because it means they are less likely to consider him a suspect now that they've built up trust with him prior. The old man, the lieutenant in disguise, is a little odd with his behavior, but the episode did need a good red herring. Mano Tiki is also a good touch for building up the hoax. It makes sense for the setting and culture to have something like that around without taking you out of the story, and I actually kind of like that it just rolls around very obviously, without necessarily trying to hide what it clearly is from the audience. The plane is still kind of interesting. It clearly is something that's meant to be more recent and made to look old and has a jump scare set up, but we actually don't ever come back around to explain specifically what the plane was. Like if it was used to transport the pearls for somebody to arrive in, or where they even got the skeleton, if it happens to be real. For a prominent memorable scene, it would have been nice to maybe throw in a line about what was up with the plane, especially with how much of a big deal it is that the foliage was plastic, just to abandon that idea. For all we know, Mr. Sims had nothing to do with it. I also like some subtle subversion that Velma is the one that gets in trouble instead of Daphne this time, and yet she's still the one saving everyone around her because she's just that competent. And it is admittedly funny that they could have just had the trap work successfully, but instead for some reason the henchman randomly betrays his boss and captures him for the gang. Overall, this is a really solid entry in the original series, even nearing the end of it, with 2 different memorable villains, a good use of location that doesn't drift into potentially problematic material, and a mystery that builds and feeds clues for everyone to solve, and a lot of really memorable moments like barricading themselves in just to realize the witch doctor is already inside and helping them, and the boys being unusually separated early on and losing our titular dog also adds some nice tension that gets to build with the ghost drum before it's revealed to be him. The witch doctor has a couple of moments of being a little less than smart though, which is surprising from someone under the mask that seems like he should be a little smarter. At the end of the day, there's very little to not enjoy or find to complain about in this one. If anything, you might say it's somewhat underrated with it being trotted out a little less than some of the other original episodes. The witch doctor has always been one of the more iconic visuals, especially with him appearing in the theme song, so this is a pretty definitive must-watch. I think I've said about all I have for this one though, so I'll let you go. If you missed the last one, definitely check it out, and I have another episode from this season of the show coming up next as well. Definitely like the video and subscribe so you don't miss that. If you want to support the channel, the Patreon is live and has things like an exclusive video on Zombie Island, another one on Witch's Ghost, things like that as a thank you for that support. I'll see you in the next one of these, which I am personally looking forward to the most of this batch, even though it got the least votes in the poll. Bye!